Hey, hey, hey. It's been a while since I've reviewed any matches. Oh, let me get this out of the way here. It's been a while since I reviewed any matches. Climb Cancel 2021 just happened, which was the first in-person tournament since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. And Climb Cancel 2021 was super special because it was also the first tournament that really ran on a modded Catherine. So two stages were altered to be completely legal. Those were Inquisition and Prison. And then, in addition to that, the version of the game that was played was the 30 FPS patch, but with the X Factor reduced from 15 seconds to 10 seconds. So, just some minor changes overall, and PC, of course. So it was really interesting in that respect. There are things I want to do moving forward that I think would benefit Catherine, mostly moving from double elimination to some kind of Swiss format or something. But that's beyond the scope of this. This is I haven't really taken a look at this match yet. This is I'm going in more or less just dry. um, Looking at Sig and Silent Black Cat, they were in loser finals for Climb Cancel 2021. So we will see what this kind of looks like. Um, so I think that this part here is just a button check. This is a 3 out of 5, so this is a somewhat lengthy set. So I wouldn't be surprised if this video extends for quite some time. So get cozy. All right, I think after this they just hop right into it. So I'll maybe I should be ready to adjust the settings, playback speed, maybe. I'll pop it to 0.75 and then skip forward a little bit. Because sometimes in Catherine, it's like when the things that happen that are important, you want to look at them in slow detail. But a lot of the stuff, like maybe different openings, you can kind of just ignore. So I think 0.75, looking at stuff makes sense. This kind of opening, right? First thing that you see, I think Cat likes to do this is, I think right now there are two main approaches coming to Spiral is where you either pull the middle one or you pull this one. You can see it ends up about even in terms of interactability. So you pull either the center or the middlemost one, and the idea with the if you pull the innermost one is that then you can push away your spiral block, but the idea, if you pull the middle block, is that then you push that, and then you push this in, right? And then you have a possible pin situation here, and it also allows you flexibility to push this over if they were to push this out, and cross over and do some stuff. So I think out of these, I think they're about even. I'd say it's about 50-50. I wonder if Control Z just gets rid of this. Yeah, every time in between these videos, it takes me so long to remember how to use this tool as Epic Pen. Um, there we go. So yeah, so I think that those are the two main approaches, and then the other approach that is becoming less and less common is some kind of shark where you cross over and try to interact, and there is a push out where if you spider and then pull this guy, but we don't see that. So between these two players, we see this is already kind of telling me that Sig does not want to interact with Cat, and Cat is leaving it open. So if you're going to see a player interact here, it's going to be Cat is going to be crossing over. That's my idea. So let's see. Okay, so Cat doesn't push and instead just opts to go up, and now you can see that Cat's going to have a little bit of height advantage here. They get the good pattern on their side, and Sig, he recognizes that, hey, I only have a 2 platform, Cat's above me, this is really rough, so Sig takes the opportunity to maybe cross over, but I think he also realizes that, hey, this structure here is actually pretty easy to push out. So we'll see if he follows up with that. And it does look like he might set up for it. He's keeping the option open, I think. Um, this is just a little bit scary for blue. I think personally, if I were blue, I think maybe a couple moves ago, I might have opted to push this to the right and either just push this out just because, just to waste time, or push this over to the right and then cross over this way. I mean, you have just much more space, and this is, I mean, this structure here is kind of annoying to climb. So I'm really curious what Sig is going to end up doing here, or if he's just going to take the L. I mean, the only thing that, yeah, here now he's going to opt to cross over. He gets his X, so that's not going to be too bad for him. Cat is mostly going to be happy to ignore it. They're high enough up now. I think they only have maybe 2 or 3 more patterns before the end spawns. Cat recognizes the X and decides to play defense. Here it's tough because Sig had to use the X to kind of stay in the game, but he doesn't really have many options, especially with, I mean, gosh, this is tough with the two portal, two portal, two portal. Like sometimes if they aren't like adjoined like that, if they aren't adjacent, sometimes you might be able to like transition, right? You can kind of do this like Z pattern where you climb here and then you cross over and climb the other side. Um, but here, because these portal blocks, it kind of makes this whole side not really usable, and so Sig is kind of going to be stuck here. I'm not exactly sure if I'm eyeing this, what I might try to do. Um, I mean, he can try to get up, but it's not really going to work. I mean, right, all you're going to be able to do is come up and maybe here and then pull this, right? Get up and then push this and then go here. With the idea being as well that maybe when you pull this, you can also push this in because you see how this, you know, this huge structure is really nice for orange to play spider defense. But if this were to be pushed to the left and this were to be pushed in, that actually makes these blocks fall, which is not bad, and certainly breaks up the spider defense to where they'd only have the 2 blocks of spider on, and gives you possible alternate ways up. So that's my idea: is maybe pull this and push, um, and just use the X to. The X here is kind of interesting because I think that what it is actually going to give you is it's not going to give Sig any ways up per se, but it makes sure that orange cannot go up. So really, it's kind of interesting because the orange, like from a idea, from a philosophical point of view, it should be you use the X to get ahead, but really you're just using the X and then that pauses P2. I just think that that's kind of a interesting dynamic. So let's see what. Okay, yeah, this work. Yeah, just that pool works too. Um, Same idea to break up the um, climb. I think I like the idea of pull, push, and then push and making this drop a little bit better, just because I think that that then gives you options when your juice runs out. But here, orange was slow enough where they didn't do a push here, and they didn't block out blue. So, um, blue is going to be okay. Blue was setting up for a nice Y reversal. Orange didn't fall for it. This is going to be kind of actually a little bit tricky because, like, orange has a block. I was going to say that actually, if orange didn't have a block in this situation, that as blue, you know, your maybe your temptation is, oh, I want to step down and I want to push this out and I want to pull this or something like that. And that would actually be really bad because when you move this, all of this is anchored by that block, and so orange doesn't have any way up. The only thing that orange can do is they can spider around and to this depth, and they can push this row in, and then this falls. So I guess orange does have a way up, but that's just the first thing that comes into my mind. So curious how blue's going to do this, and again, since this is reduced X factor timing, I'm sure it's running out. It's got to be running out any minute now. I think that the push is the best way to handle that. I think that as orange, I think I would actually prefer to go all the way to the left and climb up here. I think that orange, the way that they're playing it, is not quite aggressive enough. You saw the spider defense and then kind of a slow response to a push. I think that orange is playing this a little bit not hyper aggressive. They're letting the defense be very passive, um, and so I think it might fit better in Orange's style if Orange were to cross over and instead try to climb up, because this, this platform looks like a nice area to climb, and this section is getting more and more chaotic and not going to be super great. I mean, I guess orange can do a pull, but I don't know what this section looks like. Um, but if they do that, right, they can do a pull, and then a push, and then, maybe push this out, and if there's a block above that, that falls. Um, but this is going to get very chaotic with blue right here. So I'm not quite sure. And then alternatively, another actual nice way up would be if somebody were to stand here, push this and push this. Um, these two fall and gives you that nice little babble solve where you can just go up, up, and away. So a couple things going on here, and again, uh, I guess you have, if you were to get dropkick, it's not really the end of the world. The two space here is nice, and even if you get dropkicked over here, this section connects very nice. So the dropkick potential is not super strong here. I think that we'll see, they're just kind of fighting for position to then break away maybe for the end solve. So I'm curious to see how this will play out, because I genuinely don't remember. So they're fighting over this middle, which, the pain points here are really, it's just fighting over this one block. Um, and either player, if this gets pulled out, blue can pull it this way and climb up, or orange can pull it this way and climb up, because you've got this actually like really cool Z, the three-dimensional Z, if you looked at from directly above. So I don't know. As I'm looking at this, this looks more and more complicated, and neither player can let the other get ahead. So I actually think, low key, actually, what the biggest brain move is as blue to push this and wipe it away on the toilet, right? Then what does orange have? This space is empty, so they would have to spider around, which, like, yeah, they can. They can spider around and try to mess with you, but my idea with pushing this away is that, okay, then you stand here, and then you get ready to do this push and get on top of this. And when these fall and this is out here, that would let you go. This block would be here and out here, and so then you could get on top of this. Three step. Um, do a really pleasant solve. And so I think that as blue, that would be advantageous to you, because the alternative for orange to climb is really get over here and then push this out, which is just slow. But I guess with orange's block, this makes it a little bit tough, because you can't really ignore that per se. So I don't know, but my inclination is that this push to simplify the whole situation is not a bad move at all. Because when you do this, I mean, that's when you get to this position, this is actually not too bad. Orange is going to throw their block in there, though, I feel. No, okay. I don't know why he pushed that back. That pushback definitely seems wrong. I mean, you should want that there. And if you have that block, that's super good. This is just the same situation now, except that this block is up here. So um, orange was a little bit slow. I mean, orange should be ready to kind of get a hit there, I think. I mean, blue had time to get up and turn around. Here, okay, now orange did a push there. That's interesting. Now that blue has pulled this block out, that idea of this push, that isn't going to work anymore. Um, so I don't know exactly what the solution is. And also the one bad thing about that push is that you do lose the landing. And so as I look at this more, you would have a structure like this, which is pretty hard to climb. You might be able to push this block in, and you might get lucky with a 3 landing. Um, but, alternatively, what would have worked there would be still you could spider around to this side. And if blue has to go around to here and push this in and climb up, actually by spidering, you're still ahead of them. So you kind of reverse the situation a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, here now, orange, this seems really messed up. It seems like when these guys are playing here, I'm not quite sure what situation, like what they're fighting for. I feel like the best situations in Catherine, or when you go into a situation, should be, what do I want out of this, right? What is my goal? What is the advantage state that I want to be in? Okay, Orange falls, but again, I mentioned this before, is that these landings, that's the same as a drop kick. It's not bad. So let's see. Blue tries to just set up a spider. So here, like, I guess blue is kind of threatening that, hey, if we just let this go to time, because now time is a factor, I'm going to sit here and block this white block, and so I have the height. But orange has the block, so they're fine. Blue can't afford to sit still, so I'd really like to see, actually, even though it's so strange because the situation, I mean, you're just in this, when you're in this Z pattern, like, gosh, that is the most awful Z I've ever drawn. This pattern, though, when you look at this, you're like, oh yeah, there should be something I can do here, but maybe in general, when there's no drop kick potential, maybe you should just try to find the other way up. I don't know. Because both of these players, they're just playing to a draw right now. I don't know exactly how this is going to end, but as time is running out here, this left section is looking more and more viable. But both of these, it looks like Sig isn't going to be content. Ah, yeah, he got pinned there. Now you got to do the pin from the behind the stage, which is a little bit scary. Um, you don't always see that. Oh, he threw it in front instead, which is fine. I mean, at this point, actually, what Orange could do, Orange could literally, you know, they only need to wait 5 head bobs actually, and just stand on top of this, and they'd be fine. Um, I think because I mean, if blue tries to come up, you just smack him, right? I guess. Well, maybe not, huh? Because I'm thinking, okay, just let blue get up. But maybe you don't want to do that because if you were to um, just stand here and look this way, right, and get ready for a hit. Actually, if blue just holds up, they would sidle on the backside. Um, it's the same principle as why reversal like works. They get their action through. So yeah, I guess just try to do the pin. But I think that you have a little bit of lenient timing. You could do like 8 or something like that. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be. Yeah, yeah. You could be a little bit lenient with it. Good on Cat for winning that one. I just the situation overall is super strange, but very interesting, I think. So let's see, are they just gonna both? Okay, now they're both doing the middle push. Now here, because both players did it, that it does leave, each player can kind of go to the other side. And I think just based off of how these two players did the last interaction, is where it seems like they're aware that the other player could interact with them, and if that is the case, then they want to like stop that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some kind of fight super early on right over this middle block. I think usually, okay, I like that idea from Sig. For me personally, I like just ignoring um, fighting if it's like over something like this, because I feel like it's such a neutral position that fighting isn't going to be worth it. Now here though, you do run the risk that, okay, Sig pulls this, orange can probably climb up. Um, so I think that maybe what might have been better would be a double push. It's one of these things where when you pull and go to a spider, you leave yourself in a little bit disadvantageous state because you kind of make the staircase for the other player. So I'm curious if orange is just going to try to climb. Yeah, orange just takes that, but blue's content with that. Since items are a thing in classic, it's really not that bad to let the other player get a block or two ahead. It's about even, I think, overall. Orange is going to do some pushes, and they see the potential. So now this is just going to be a little bit of a headache for blue. I think that blue's going to do it, but I think the right idea is push and make this thing fall, right? I guess that one doesn't fall. Oops. But, if you push that, then this stuff falls. I guess it's just this, huh? That that cutaway falls, and orange can continue to push, and that's okay because um, you have enough space to work with. And it's also okay because the longer that you're down here, And that you are interacting with blocks, the more likely you are to spawn an item. And if you get X Factor down when you're only like 2 blocks behind, 2 floors below, that's super good for blue, or that's super good for whoever gets the item. So we'll see. Okay, they did a much more complicated setup first to then do that. Yeah, now Orange was kind of a little bit careless, I think, to just let that second, you know, it was their same idea, but they just gave up on it. And now, yeah, Blue has this is much more annoying for Orange to work with, I think. But unfortunately for Blue is where they don't really have much to go after this, and because of these spiral blocks, it kind of blocks off trying to get over there. So they'll have a 2 landing, and then they'll be able to pull, and then some of this stuff will fall. They do a push instead. It's kind of interesting. It wasn't as chaotic of a fall, but I don't know if it really helps them out. I guess pulling gives you potential to spawn more items, so that's not bad. A push, push. They want to spider around, which that's a cool idea. I approve. Here, us potential. Yeah, that's a shame. I think here, like, I think in my mind when I'm looking at this, I see, oh, this section is very flimsy. It's only held by these guys. So I think if it were up to me, I would actually, instead of kind of fighting in this situation, because for blue, this seems a little bit tough. Um, I think what makes it tough is that, your pin situation, it's not super great for you because these blocks are on your sides. So, like, okay, you just kind of waste a little bit of time going back and forth here. But then orange has the potential to step up on this block if it goes completely to time. And so I think that maybe what would be interesting would be if blue instead kind of steps away from this and instead opts to go down here and pull or something like that, like tries to get the height to even out, but also chips away at this structure because that would serve you the purpose of if orange says that they want to climb, this thing is actually very flimsy, so you could very easily get rid of the rightmost, and the leftmost would not take much more time to collapse. I don't think. I mean, push, push, and then push this guy and push this, and I guess at one point you had to come back over here and finish pushing that block. So, yeah, there is a good bit of pushing, but it's also such a narrow thing that it's going to require orange to do some solves. So I think that there's potential there to do something with there. But I think that both of these players are just going to fight over this position, which I don't know if there's really like a clear way to win that. I like Orange's idea that, oh, I'm just going to move up. I think what would make Orange really killer here is if Orange just went up and pulled and then just took it to a spider defense. That's an interesting idea from Blue. I think that Blue here is actually not too bad because they can go over and they can pull this and they'd be safe. And Orange, if Orange tries to hold right, Blue gets the pull first, and Orange would then end up here. Blue can then push back, and then Orange could possibly end up on super top. Um, so that'd be good. That'd be good for Blue in this case. Um, yeah. So alternatively, another scenario I could maybe see would be Blue coming over here and do some kind of push. And when you do your push, you actually are safe after that action. So even if Orange dropped down and tried to get a hit, uh, if you were in the middle of this push, you could evade. So, I mean, if you were, Sig could do it. I probably could not, but you could parry. You could do a push, bait, parry, but if you do the push, then this is going to fall on your head. So I think that instead, what you would do is you would go in, you'd push, you'd step back. Orange might come down, I'm not sure, but then you get that nice Anakin situation. Double Anakin, I should say. Shouts to Linus. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we'll probably just see Blue come over and pull that. No, they instead opt for the double Anakin. It's important. You always go down double Anakin. I'm really surprised that Orange did not come here and do the push and then get the pin. That's what I was a little bit worried about. As Orange, I think that actually what Orange could have done here that would have been really cool would have been to push this, and then this whole section kind of falls a little bit, and it just catches on here. But because these are two, and then this would then be underneath the portal block. Um, Blue wouldn't be able to climb that, so it's not like dangerous. Blue could push that, but then this guy is still anchored on here, so it gives you like kind of two anchor points now. Um, so I think but yeah, I think that just the idea. I was saying, oh well, maybe they could do a pool spider defense, but it's the same idea as, oh, I'm just going to sit up here and wait. Oh, that was cool. That was a good use for their item. I wasn't thinking about that. I honestly forgot that they had an item. Um, this is looking less and less good for blue every second. Yeah, that's game. So I mean, I like Cat's good on Cat for winning. I think that their style seems to be. I think that both of these players, gosh, I mean they're not afraid to interact with each other. But I think when they go into their interactions, it sometimes seems a little bit unclear what they're fighting for. I think that they kind of see it as they go in and then they're just going to go in until they win. Right? They're going to try to get the drop kick. They're going to try to set up for a pin. They're going to do whatever, which is, I mean, that works. But I think that it makes the fighting very chaotic and uh, more up in the air than it needs to be. Because in Catherine, a lot of the times when you're fighting, it's not really like you're going to be able to carry your advantageous too far. I mean, all you have are drop kicks and pillow pillow hits, so you can't really carry that too far. That was interesting from Cat. Cat kind of catches. Cat uses their side to push out and catch the left tower, this section at least. And so it's kind of cool because it stops Blue from totally collapsing it and doing some stuff. So I think that's a cool idea, but it kind of gets hard. Anytime where you have these two platforms, they tend to crumble really quickly in multiplayer. That was scary. I was ready for a push from Blue here. Here you have a bunch of possible pin scenarios, I should say. Um, so we'll see. No clear way up. I mean, now it looks like both of these players are just gonna try to fight for the win right here. Yeah, Sig got caught. Unfortunate. Let's see if they mix it up. I wonder if Cat's gonna go with the same strategy. Sig opts for the idiot push and it goes unchallenged. So he's able to get ahead. Very fine. Here, all Sig did was just he pulled that and was like, "All right, Orange. Now, all right, Cat. Now you gotta figure out what to do here." Orange has their block and they got some stuff, so that'll be good for them. This isn't too bad for Blue. This is just kind of somewhat easy solves, especially with the items. They're being very generous right now, so we'll see. Good idea from Blue to try to cap off Orange from going that way. But now, yep, now we've got a possible pin situation, so I think both of these players are going to try to be a little bit greedy and fight for it. Um, oh, yeah, that's a huge drop kick, and that's almost dead. But Blue's not entirely dead here, actually. I don't know if he sees it, but you can spider around the outside and then come back up and do the same kind of thing. And you would even be safe. You have if Orange is here and tries to dive kick, you can come up and there's a Y reversal. Here's a Y reversal. Here's a Y reversal. So you're fairly safe the whole way up. You could even, if you really want to, you have enough time, you can spider around and push and make that fall and then go up a level and pull this, and then you would be able to pull this block and pull this block. You have a lot of potential for spawning items and particularly X Factor because um, this part here, orange doesn't really have a super great way up. I think that what would be a very creative thing for orange to do, well, one thing that orange could do is just go down here and get the X and then burn it and then go up. And that actually wouldn't be too bad. You go up here, you go back, and then you pull this, you push this, and then you are able to get on top of either, pick your poison. And that wouldn't be too bad, but I think that would be very slick. Would be a pull, get up, go back here, and then a push, and then a pull, and then a pull, and then a pull on top, and that would, oh, and then you'd need to pull again. I think, essentially using these two to build your way up. I think that would be cool. So yeah, I don't know if blue sees that they're not dead. I hope they do, because that's not terrible. Yeah, okay. Oh, he didn't quite go far enough yet. So let's see. He opts to do this, which isn't bad. I like that. Getting a little bit lost, I think. Choosing to go some interesting routes. He's playing awfully low. Now I'm getting a little bit scared. This works, so that's good. And this is anchored on the back, actually, which is the only reason why that works, because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to push that. Here, blue's going to need to push, right? Or pull, I guess. Pull, and then you have the 3 dimensions. Yep, very nice. Very nice conversion to then a spider defense. It felt like clawing behind. Oh, that's brutal. It felt like he was clawing, back from the depths, and then Sig had a moment there where he actually had the opportunity to play defense, which was cool. I like the phase shifting in Catherine, where you go from an offensive position to a defensive, or you go from a fight to a climb, or you go from a climb to a break. Like, things like that are very cool to me, um, because that's where I think a lot of the expression kind of comes in, is the decision making on when do you choose to convert the game into what kind of phase. All right, Imperio. So I know between these two, there's a bit of history with Imperio, because Cat has been the Empress of Imperio, and Cat and Sig has been the Emperor of Imperio. So I think that seeing Imperio in bracket is very cool. Um, and on PC, it's not really a problem with the frame rate drops or anything like that. So it'll be cool to see. Um, I'm torn on this stage personally, if I think that what might make it better would be if converting all the immovable blocks to just dark blocks. Because there's a part of me that says, oh, well, the framing makes it for a very unique gameplay. Like, no other stage plays like this. But at the same time, I don't know if the way that you're forced to play it because of the immovable framing, if that uniqueness is a good uniqueness. It feels 50-50. But I think that if a significant number of people in the community like it, then I guess who am I to say no, that's not the right way to play. But I personally think that changing the immovables to dark blocks would be a fantastic stage and not lose its uniqueness. This is tough. Yeah, it's tough because those turns into 50-50s when one player has the item block. So Sig is really good though. He's really good with mixing it up when he goes for that. So that's super cool. Um, I think port priority wise, like blue should never really lose that. So I don't know. But yeah, this is how you'll have to play because of the immovable framing. Now I would like to see if what you have to do is to get around this is you have to make multiple ways up. So since he has an item, that's not too bad. But I like the idea where, oh, let me get rid of that. I like the idea, because it sets up for a push and a push on this way, and he has the opposite ways. The other way that you can do that as well is that you break up the spider defense if they're playing it, and that would be by you have to do some smart pushes on the interior blocks. But let's see where this goes. So Cat is just going to be super content to just take the defense to each level, and they're just going to pull, as much as they can, and just make the wall as beefy as possible. I think. Um, so I don't know if there's too much to talk about besides. I feel like in this situation, wait a second, Orange had a fairly strong lead, so I'm confused. Orange gets to here. I think that, in my mind, I think the solution is, oh, let me drop down and push and drop down and push, and then go up that side, and then that gives you pretty nice potential to then pull these and make that very annoying to climb. I think that when you, um, whenever you're trying to make the staircases, also that you always want to try to go on the edges. I think that what Orange ends up doing is that they pull this, which isn't really the right idea because you get this kind of phallic looking phallic looking thing. Um, but you get the staircase doesn't go right because either you pull or you pull, and it just works out that the math, right? Okay, they can't go this way. If they try to pull and then pull again, they're off the edge. So that doesn't work. And then because of this block here is where if they try to pull this, they actually have to push this first, and then they have to go down, and then they have to push it again, and then they have to pull this. So there's quite a bit of work there. So um, I definitely think that. Yeah, I don't think that that's the right move. And I didn't see that back there, and they didn't either, so they have to actually do a lot more work. So I think that maybe, yeah, I mean this is, and then here choosing to go on this side instead is, I guess the idea is that oh they want to attack this structure, right? And that kind of would work because blue doesn't, you know, notice that the lack of blocks in here, there's not really much to work with. So if orange did like a push and then a pull and you know they would only have a two thing there. That's not too bad, but I don't think that there's enough time for that to work out. I think that blue's going to be able to go over here and pull this block. And now this is just a strange situation. I think that orange needed to push and pull again. Um, but it's tough because if they were to push there, blue would have just pulled and been up. So unfortunate. All right, now you got a ball game. But yeah, you see, this is the thing again. Blue's using the outside of their landing to climb, and Orange is now getting kind of stuck, and both players are kind of running on empty now. I think that Orange, if they really wanted to, it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe spider around, and because you have you can go up this way or this way. But Blue can kind of win by just standing up here. So this is actually really tough. Um, and blue has a white block, so I think if I were blue, I'd be torn between trying to set up a defense by throwing my white block here into the space and just standing here, or doing some kind of thing where okay, I then pull this and then just play spider defense there. Um, but if I'm orange, this is starting to look a little bit scary. Maybe the other idea would be to go here and pull and then do a push and maybe spawn some kind of item on that big row. But this is looking pretty bad, I think, for orange. Another idea maybe would be, all right, I'm going to try to tackle these blocks because since the immovable framing makes it where, okay, the outer blocks aren't going to ever fall, these blocks aren't ever going to fall, but the middle three do have potential. So there is a world, where orange is able to make this guy and this guy fall. Unfortunately, this block being here does support this guy, so these three are not going to be able to fall, but these two are liable. So there is a world where orange does a push and a push, and like a push on this, um, does some kind of push maneuvering like that, and makes it where these fall, which would just ruin Blue's defense idea and maybe give orange more time to farm. But I think at this point, the only real option that orange has is to farm. I don't think that, there's no way they'll be able to make any staircase happen on the outside or anything like that. So let's see if the Catherine gods are kind to orange. Stops the spider. I'm really surprised that Sig just didn't. I don't think Sig likes playing the spider defense. Just watching these gameplays, which is fine. I think that's it certainly the spider defense, like this, the structure of the stage is set up to where that is a very strong option. But I think that it is a very very different approach to not necessarily use that. Sig, he doesn't do more than really do a couple pushes and pulls to just make it a little bit tough, but he doesn't draw out the interactions. You see, because I think if Cat were ahead, Cat would have been doing some pulls. So here, orange has the X, but blue has this, and I think that popping the X there is not really the good idea because it's a real shame that blue, you know, if you're blue, if you hold down, you get the delayed drop kick, I'm pretty sure, so I'm curious why they didn't. And that would be a dead. Like, I don't think there's anything that orange can really do. And once orange steps up here, I think that they're just done. And then, furthermore, to kind of watch as orange like climbs up this, if I'm blue, I probably then just cut my losses and go ahead. Um, it is a little bit tough because maybe I see. So we're talking about Sig here, who likes to do the crush kill, and I think that as orange comes up, which by the way, just this animation is is really whack. But as orange, you actually have two options. You actually have three options. Um, but you have the option to either turn and hit or dodge, right? You can, once you climb up, you can go right, left, and get the pillow hit down, which would be good. Or, you could hold forward and go on the backside, but you don't want to do that because blue does one pull, and that's a loss. But that's the unexpected, because if blue is trying to hit you, then the dodge or the spider on the back works. Um, and but the downside of that is now that blue has the crush block, crush kill is on the table, and so if orange were to do either of those things, blue, and since it's Sig, very likely would blow you up. So orange, takes the 50-50 and goes for the pillow hit, but the pillow hit here is really strong because blue's going to get knocked down to here, and then they have to deal with this row, and they don't really have much to work with. Um, I think that maybe they have their block, so they'll be able to do something, but it becomes tough because I think that orange is then going to play a defensive game, and I'm not sure if there's really a good solution to that. So we'll see. Let's see. No, orange doesn't play defense. To me, I think that just standing on this block is very strong. So I'm really surprised that Cat didn't. And since it's reduced X factor timing, they're not going to be able to get the win off that X. I don't think. Um, I just don't think that there's enough time. Yeah, just barely not enough. So here, I love this. This is such a clever idea. This 4 high wall of just and the one immovable, but the all mystery blocks. Oh, it's a beautiful end pattern. It's probably my favorite. This is just such a. It's going to be different every time that you play. Oh man, that's such a. Now this is tough, and I think that's checkmate. This is checkmate. Oh, don't let him up. Oh, it was checkmate. There was nothing that orange could do, but blue gave it up. I don't know. Yeah, this is again where I'm like, if either like if Sig went into the fight and kind of was looking for the checkmate situation, then he would have recognized it and had it. But since he didn't, he kind of ends up losing that a little bit. So I'm not sure. Here, this becomes a little bit strange because I think now it's looking more likely to end in some kind of draw situation. But when Orange did that, they don't have anything on their side. So if I'm Orange, maybe I might try to do some kind of spider, or yeah, I would push and then go down and then spider and then try to Y reversal. But this becomes tough because it's possible for Sig to drop kick cancel and then get the drop kick. So it's tough, because then the alternative, the other side of that too, is that knowing that it's sig, is that you take the risk and you go up, right? And no, I guess there's no real way to get that, huh? Well, I guess you could go up and do like a pull on this block, but that becomes tough because um, that doesn't really give you, that doesn't set up for a good future. So I think that, at this point, this looks like blue should win this. Yeah, I don't think that that's going to work at all. Staying on the left, hoping for a block when you're just one down, I think that's not quite the right call. Um, I don't know what is next. Man, that Maryland Jockey Club logo is so crazy. MJC, all in the same image. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Excuse me. All right. 2-1 in Cat's favor. But Sig's on the come up. He just had the power of Imperio. Um, so we'll see. Ah, right. Oh no. I didn't want to do this. But this is the Inquisition. So this is Full Bodies Inquisition backported in a classic. Um, so this is now a legal stage. And I think it's cool because I think that, you get the short play style, which isn't in any of the other maps. Not really. You kind of get it in Imperio, but this is definitely a different kind of level. So I think that works. Blue does that early push out, and now we know that the goal is just going to be on top of this. So this is a fight for this section. Orange is below. I actually super like Orange just playing the low game here. I think that especially when that side is gone, doing some kind of like push and push. Well, this has depth, right? There's a block below this one. So even when you push that out, that doesn't fall. It actually hangs on the back here. So then you need to do a push and then go back and then push this when that falls. So it becomes a little bit strange, but maybe then the solution instead of pushing that would be to pull it. So maybe you would do some kind of pull here and maybe then go up and pull this or something. Like in my head, the idea is that, oh, if this is where the win is, I'm going to try to make that fragile, especially because blue has the advantage. Now, blue would probably know that, and since they're ahead, they have the upper hand on setting up a good response to that, especially if you drop down and try to pull this, and blue kind of sees what you're doing. Blue can just kind of play some spider defense and just hang out right here for a little bit, and then depending on what you do, react accordingly. If you try to push, they'll just drop on you maybe, or if you try to then come up, then they just go over and then they take your same idea and do pushes. So I don't know. I think that this Inquisition state can lead to some really cool things. Um, oh man, one idea that might be interesting would be if orange, instead of pushing this block, kept it there and just stood on here and actually like body blocked blue, right? Because blue would be here, and so if they just stood there and kept an eye for the drop kick, that would be pretty powerful, I think. Blue does have the height advantage, but it doesn't really last because of orange's block. When they need to, um, they can, they can just climb up and climb up there. So I actually think that just standing on that block and doing a standing block is um, not a bad idea. But we're just going to see a push. Uh huh. Which I'm scared, yeah, because that's what I see is that blue's then going to try to push out. So I think at this point, neither player is really going for the goal, and that now we just have a situation where they're going to play to see who can get the drop kick on each other. And because it's Inquisition, there's going to be some depth. So even if you were to get drop kicked, all of these spaces are safe. There's nothing over top of the spike block besides if this section were to get pulled out from under you. So it's actually very dangerous, really, for orange. But he doesn't, blue doesn't really have anything to lose by playing this kind of game. So I think if I'm orange, I actually adapt and go to the left side and just threaten to use my block to get some height. And maybe, stand on top of this, spider around, and just play spider defense. That way, if blue tries to cross over by pushing this and walking on top, that the spider defense blocks that. Maybe that's a lame way to play, but I think that has very strong potential. Wow, blue managed to get a pin there. That's crazy to me. That's one of the things, since it's a live game, you can kind of do those reaction checks to things. If this were a standstill game and you had, a year or 30 seconds to ponder each move before you made it, that this wouldn't happen. But that was really surprising to do that, and really good recognition that orange, like what orange was wanting to do in that situation. This is legendary. Sig actually tries to get a pin selfie, but gets a video and messes up a couple times. And it was very tight timing wise to sit back down and begin playing. So, very funny. Here we have the Idiot Push comes back from Cathedral to hang out here, huh? So this kind of thing is interesting. I think in my head, what I want to do is my first inclination is go down here and pull this. Because this just looks so similar to, this is the same kind of shape that's on Underground Cemetery. And there's something about just pulling this and setting up for a very easy push, like push out, is very satisfying to me. So that's my idea is pull the innermost block. Now, if both players do that, then this guy collapses, and the state becomes a little bit weird. But I think if one player chooses to stay up here, that the guy who pulls this ends up ahead. So I think that just fighting, this is one of the things where when you're fighting for something, I don't know what standing up here gives you, because it's kind of like a false flag, because the the way that you climb to get to the goal, if that's what you want, is actually on the sides. So just coming to the middle when there's nothing in the background here, it's empty. It's a Pyrrhic victory, right? You don't get anything. Um, yeah, you all you really get is a potential for a drop kick, right? You get a potential for a drop kick here or a potential for a drop kick here, but if you get a drop kick, they just end up here. And even if you were to get a follow-up drop kick, right? They go to here. And let's say even you got three drop kicks in a row, there's still there's the spawn section, which okay, maybe the tower would have fallen out by then, but it just is very I don't see much being gained by actually fighting over this section. Oop, did I make this bigger somehow? I didn't want to. So yeah, I hope that somebody abandons this thing relatively soon. I think that that's one of the things that um, seems to consistently like kind of edge me out. I think over some of the other people is where I am very ready to abandon ideas and abandon situations and move on to the next thing. But it seems like some people get kind of hung up on like, oh, they want to win this interaction. They want to win the battle, but they don't win the war. So yeah, here, that was kind of bad from blue because now orange does have stuff that they can work with. But if that were just to stay, wouldn't really be much to worry about. Wow, that's a shame that the stage felt like that, huh? That actually orange didn't see. Oh, that's a shame. 3D staircases. They're tricky. 2-2. I don't know where they end up. I'd say maybe quadrangle. Cat seems to be fairly confident in her quadrangle, not triangle. But I don't know. I think it is Cat's counterpick. Yeah, quadrangle makes sense. I don't like quadrangle. I think that it's a very strange stage where, I like that the modification that I made to it was to give both players an item, and I made the ending a little bit more complicated. And I think that that is just an objectively better stage and better experience. Um, if a player gets ahead, there's no comeback factor, which makes a stage so difficult. Here, Sig does a push in, which is going to set up for a possible pin situation if we see it. Orange gets a side where there is a babble solve, right? You can push this block to the right and push this block in. Wow, that's like, I did like diagonally, right? But if you push this, to the right and you push this in, these blocks fall and actually give you the way up. You can, and sets up for a possible paradise. So, or the right side on this tower, I think I would um, value higher than the left. Blue is going to opt to, try set up for some dive kicks. Blue tosses that, which actually makes this side now a lot less valuable, so to speak. This tower is now getting more and more complicated. I think. Wow. I'm not sure. I mean, here blue can body block, and I mean, I think if I'm blue, one thing that I can keep in mind is that when orange gets into here, instead of going for a drop kick, which won't really work, because orange can kind of spider around and do stuff, if blue pulls this, they actually drop down, and that should be a pin, I think. So I would like to see a pull pin, but I don't know if we'll see that. But blue can stand there for a while. Oh, I think he tried to drop kick cancel, which is an idea. Hey, yeah, there it is. That was this. Yeah, I liked that a lot. Um, so another pin. Plenty of time. So this is the redemption from earlier. Very cool. Both opting for the outside. I think it's interesting that they both opted for the outside, and that, especially Sig, I wouldn't be surprised if he would have pulled this and then pushed it and then tried to pull this and get ready to push this and force a kind of fight down here. But I think that Cat, I think that players are now ready for when people pull this innermost block. They're ready to kind of fight over that, and that this is just a very dangerous section. I mean, there's a lose combo if you get drop kicked into either player's spawn, so that's not good. So, but yeah, both players doing the same outsider opening. Orange fell a little bit behind somewhere in there. Missed linking. Orange's side is more valuable here. Orange does the nice solve. Blue tries to actually do the same thing on the outside and catch that block, and actually worked really great to stop the paradise. Um, but this is going to be a little bit complicated for blue. This is where, okay, once blue gets behind, it's very difficult. I think that orange here, what orange needed to do was, when these were connected, I think that what orange needed to do was push and then pull. Um, because what that does is that block would be there and one block would be here and this block would be empty. Um, and that would have been a much stronger defense. Blue would have had to pull and pull again to make that work. Leaving that open is going to be not too bad for blue. Now here, they a little bit lucky that there's a paradise on the outside, to set up a potential, but they it's lucky that this is here, but it's unlucky that there's nothing there. So they actually can't really set up the paradise easily. What they'd have to do is, they'd have to go grab this block or spider and grab this block, and then push. But blue is going to be able definitely to climb in that time. So it's very unfortunate that they won't be able to set up the paradise for orange. Well, they wouldn't have been able to set up the paradise if blue would have went to the left, I think. But instead, blue opts to go to the right. But yeah, yeah. I mean, that just is the ending. So yeah, it's unfortunate. Opting for the outside again. Orange keeps missing these links in there somewhere. Orange fell a little bit behind there again. Fighting over this middle block. I'm surprised. I mean, blue had the potential to mess him up. There's a possible babble solve, but blue just opts instead for a good old-fashioned staircase, which is fine. Let's see how they play this. Setting up a little bit of a wall. Okay, orange is going to be able to climb up, but blue has a really advantageous position here. Possible paradise situation. Not sure why blue hesitated there. I actually think that going up just the right side, I'm really surprised that orange tosses and is fighting over here. Maybe both players are a little bit blind and focused on the other. But when this block was here, notice that there is a really nice way up. That there's not much to fight about. So I think that blue definitely could have just gone ahead with that. Um, but this works too. They're ahead, and this is game. I don't think orange. Yeah, orange can't do anything about that. We even got a nice little flashy climb cancel right at the end there. That's a good set. I think I think going to quadrangle is a risky one. And it's risky because of all the stages, there's no real RNG there. So it's kind of funny because you would think that the risky stage would be one where there's a lot of RNG, which is true. But in Catherine, the RNG kind of usually works to buff the person who falls behind. And so by eliminating that, you're placing your bets on that. Oh, I'm not going to fall behind. So that's tough. That's a heartbreaker. But that went the full length, and that was a very strong set. I think that both of the players played very solidly. My only real issues, like we saw a lot of complicated fights, and I think that maybe what would help both of these players, and just in general, would be that when we cause a complicated scenario, to find a simple idea to unify it. And I think that being aware that, oh, a dropkick won't win me this situation kind of makes it more like, well, why would I even fight over this then? Especially, when you saw the Inquisition game, I think that just looking at that and being like, oh, well, why would I even care about that 3 high? Why would I care if the other person's on it? They can't do anything with it. So, um, yeah, that was really cool. Thanks for watching.